Dance was sent off, the 7-2 market leader.
They're off. The gates fly open at the Kitco Guineas Festival. Will begin over 1.25 miles with the listed Newmarket Stakes, and Forza Timau in the violet silks of Ammo Racing is the first to show up. Castle Way, blue jacket, white cap racing handily, and Salt Bay with a pink cap tracks the leading pair through the first furlong or so. Circle of Fire with the scarlet sleeves drops into about 4th position, tracked by Like a Tiger in the stripes. Then a break of a couple of lengths to Relentless Voyager, yellow jacket, disputing last place with Victory Dance under James Doyle, who's in the all blue. They make their way down the centre of the Rowley Mile and complete the 3rd furlong, taken along by Forza Timau, leading by a little over a length. Salt Bay racing on the near side of Castle Way. He in turn is being slipstreamed by Circle of Fire. And then the last trio, all held together, are fairly steady fractions, Like a Tiger in the striped jacket and Victory Dance racing on the near side of Relentless Voyager. Moving on down through the halfway point, and up front, Forza Timau to Castle Way on the left. Still tracked there by Circle of Fire. Salt Bay in the centre, only a length off the lead. In turn, followed by Like a Tiger, then Relentless Voyager in a yellow jacket, and Doyle sits quietly on the extreme right aboard Victory Dance, within 3 lengths of the lead as they move down now towards the final 3 furlongs. Castle Way towards the far side, right alongside Forza Timau. Salt Bay, Circle of Fire next. Like a Tiger in the middle, a striped cap is being asked for his effort. Second from the left, Relentless Voyager bustled up by Murphy. And here on the extreme right, Victory Dance is now beginning to close. Running downhill inside the last couple of furlongs. Castle Way, white cap, the first to strike on for home, but here's his stablemate down the near side. Victory Dance throwing down the challenge. Circle of Fire on the far side, climbing inside the furlong. Castle Way with first rod on the field, chased by Victory Dance, Circle of Fire and Relentless Voyager. Castle Way under the Buick drive, doing best. Castle Way wins the Newmarket Stakes from Circle of Fire, Victory Dance and Relentless Voyager close up.
Business as usual for William Buick and Charlie Appleby. Godolphin win the opening contest on Guineas weekend. Castle Way 7-1. Second was Circle of Fire for the King, 13-2. Deduct 10p in the pound after Waipiro's withdrawal in this contest, which saw Castle Way run out a pretty impressive victor. In the end, a horse is going from strength to strength and ended last season just as he's begun this one, with victory at Newmarket. Last time he was seen over this trip, it was in handicap company, but this time stepped up in grade to listed. Grade, he's done it really well and buckled down nicely in the closing stages, as all comers did try and come, but couldn't go past. Castle Way most certainly on the right trajectory for William Buick and Charlie Appleby.
Charlie Appleby is here, not at all. Victory Dance, Castle Way in the opener. Reflect on their respective performances, Charlie.
Yeah, pleased with both of them. I mean, Castle Way, he's got proven form over this track, winning here in the autumn. William, it was a choice for William, obviously between the pair of them, and you couldn't really split them that much at home. Obviously, apart from one has proven himself stepping up in trip, and one had to prove himself. Yeah. And William's always been a fan of this Castle Way on what he sat on him on the track and at home. So. You know, that's why he sort of sided with him. And as respects to Victory Dance, you know, delighted. James said, you know, couldn't fault him there. He's learning. When I say he's learning, I mean, that was his first step up to the mile and a quarter. I think on a more conventional track, I'm not saying we all like to use the dip as an excuse, but he has got that action where you can just see how he could just come down on his knees a little bit on it. So I think getting back on a more conventional track, you know, a York or a Ascot or something like where he's just meeting the ground a little bit will just help him, and he's a horse that's going the right way. Do you know where you'd be inclined to go with either of them next? I would imagine that Castle Way probably will look, obviously speak to connections as well, and personally I would be saying let's look towards Ascot with him. You know, we tried with the winner. With the winner, sorry, yes. You know, we tried Epsom last year, and he didn't like the track. Admittedly, the ground was very soft that day as well, but he completely got lost on the track, and I feel he's a horse that's just, you know, he's happier just with a nice, like I say, more of a conventional, simple track for him, and. You know, obviously, we'll all see what the Derby picture starts to formulate itself now over the next couple of weeks there now, and we'll get a clear picture of what we're dealing with. And as respects to the second horse there, he'll find a nice sort of mile and a quarter again, and I can't see no reason why he won't get a mile and a half, you know, halfway through the season. You're off to saddle Native Child. Just a line on him. Is it a big day for him? Yeah, very much. Look, we're delighted to have him here. He's full of enthusiasm, and you'll see him when he comes in the paddock. He'll be a knockout in the paddock. He always is. He's the Voxer you want to see in the ring. He looks great, and yeah, everyone's right behind him. We're excited to have him back.
Cheers. Look forward to seeing him.
Thanks, mate.
Charlie.
The 150 is the Bet365 miler. Group 2, over a mile. All eyes on Native Trail. Sent off 11 to 8 on for the Godolphin duo once again.
They're off. The Bet3 mile Group 2 ahead of them. Native Trail in the all blue came out fairly sharply, but now gets a lead from Mutasabek in the Shadwell Silks of blue and white. He runs a little bit of a solo early on down the middle. With Imperial Fighter racing near side of centre Scarlet Jacket. They're well spaced out in behind. Native Trail moving up to track Mutasabek. In turn, followed by Light Infantry in the blue and green, who's fairly free under restraint. Check and Challenge in a pink jacket is last of all. They've gone through the first 2.5 furlongs. Imperial Fighter running a solo on the right, and it's single file stuff on the left. Mutasabek slipstream by Native Trail, a couple of lengths away to Light Infantry, and a further length and a half to Check and Challenge. They've gone through halfway in the Bet365 mile. Mutasabek leading the main cluster, still Imperial Fighter and Oisin Murphy doing their own thing towards the near side, heading down past the 3. Buick sitting quietly in behind aboard Native Trail, the all blue, and followed through by Late Infantry, now being asked for more. Spencer in the drive position. Check and Challenge pink jacket is shaken up, and Mutasabek is stretching on as they pass the bushes, running downhill to the 2. Mutasabek has opened up by 3 lengths here. Native Trail is having to work hard to try and close with Light Infantry, Check and Challenge. Imperial Fighter drops off them, and it's Mutasabek inside the furlong, still with a commanding advantage over Native Trail, Light Infantry and Check and Challenge, and Mutasabek will defy his penalty and defy it in breathtaking fashion to win the Bet365 mile. Tight for second between Light Infantry and Native Trail, Check and Challenge. Next home, then Imperial Fighter.
A performance and 3/4 from Mutasabek. 4-1 winner for Jim Crowley and Charlie Hills land the Bet365 mile in grand style. Second, Native Trail put in his place, and no mistake, the 11 to 8 on favourite. He's cruised through this race like a good one, has Mutasabek, and has followed up that victory in the Joel Stakes at the end of last season with an equally and perhaps more impressive victory this afternoon. Cruising through the race at the head of affairs, and clearly has been revitalised, improved and perked up by those blinkers. He's a horse now with Group 1 aspirations. Where will we see him next? The Queen Anne or the Lockinge? That is up for debate, but no doubt he has earned that lofty rise in grade.
Jim Crowley has ridden Mutasabek to success. He likes it here, doesn't he?
He loves it, obviously. Look, he won the Joel Stakes back end last year, and obviously when they moved the race from Sandown back here, I was quite pleased to see that.
What is it about here that suits?
Listen, I don't think it's anywhere in particular. He's run other good races elsewhere, and he liked it today because I got us easy my own way in front. I just kept away from Oisin on the other side, but obviously Newmarket is a good track if you can set your fractions on the front end at your pace.
And is there a chance you think he can improve this year on what he achieved last year?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he's a good solid horse. I feel that he's physically a better horse and mentally. He used to have a red hood on and he was a bit toey, and I think the last twice I've ridden him now, there's been none of that. So hopefully he can progress. He go to the Lockinge now, and you know, Newbury be another track to suit him. So hopefully he'll run well there. Royal Scotsman tomorrow in the big one. How do you feel about his chances of, first of all, getting the better of Chaldean when reopposing? Like, is that, do you see that as very feasible in this 3-year-old season? Yeah, look, I'd like to have had another crack at the Dewhurst last year. He'd been running over 6 all year, and he'd got a little bit keen and dropped him in, got him to he relaxed too well actually in the Dewhurst, and then it took a while to get going. It was quick ground. What I liked about him most that day is that he galloped out past the line extremely well to the top of the hill. First thing I said was to Ollie and Paul Cole, Jimmy Feature, was that I wouldn't be worried about him going a mile. So, listen, if he's trained on, which is no reason why he shouldn't, he's got to be bang there, I hope. You've been in to see him a few times? I haven't, no. They keep the same guy on him, but they've sent me a few videos of his work, and he looks like he's training very well, and he's got a bit of class about him, and obviously Dewhurst is very good form. Yeah, it is. And Martin, the Gordon Richards, I know speaking to you at the back end of last year, he's a horse you like, isn't he? He is. He wouldn't be an over flashy workhorse at home, and never has been, but he's doing everything right. He's ready to run. I'm pretty sure he'll come forward for a race, but like I said, we like him. He's a lovely horse, and we want him to make that next step up into Group 1 at some stage.
Okay. And do you see him as a out-and-out 10 furlong horse this year?
Off last year, yeah. We'll know more, but off last year I thought 10 was his best trip.
And in the 1,000, Polly Pot is, I guess, a nice ride to pick up. Have you sat on her?
No, so that's first time. But look, I've watched her races. She's one thing she is. She's tough and she's genuine. She'll stay the mile very well. She's a big outsider, but you know, if you're not in it, you can't win it if you're sat in the weighing room.
Yeah, stranger things have happened. Cheers, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The 225 is the King Charles II Stakes, a listed contest over 7 furlongs. Godolphin with the favourites again, Majestic Pride, this time at 5-2.
Oh, they're off for the King Charles II Stakes over 7 furlongs. Iconic moment in the dark blue. Just lingered briefly leaving the stalls, but has quickly recovered and now races quite keenly towards midfield, with the early pace set by Arabian Storm towards the far side. In a purple jacket, Ben Acre in the black and white is racing handily and covered up just behind the Wiltshire in the predominantly white silks. Then back to iconic moment, Majestic Pride in the raw blue races about 3 lengths off the pace towards midfield with Crystallium, the grey should have been a ring, and Tinjin pulling hard at the back of the field. They're already moving down towards halfway. And up ahead, it's Arabian Storm and Oisin Murphy, purple silks, giving a lead to Ben Acre and James Doyle in the black and white, and then Wiltshire under jockey change, Kevin Stark, far side in a white jacket. Majestic Pride towards the near side, being asked now by Buick to close as Moore begins to nudge away on iconic moment. Crystallium in the purple and blue is under pressure. Tenjin is still towards the rear. Should have been a ring. The grey has switched towards the far side. Inside the 2, running downhill. Majestic Pride on the right, moving through with Ben Acre to Arabian Storm. Wiltshire in a white jacket holds every chance, then should have been a ring. Inside the furlong they come. Arabian Storm, Majestic Pride continuing to press hard on the near side. Should have been a ring on the far side, finishing off strongly. Ben Acre threading the eye of the needle. Should have been a ring. Inching home to win the King Charles II Stakes. Tight for the placings, Ben Acre, Arabian Storm and Majestic Pride, and Wiltshire was right in behind them.
The bells sound for Should Have Been a Ring, who comes home strongest, 3-1 for Sean Levy and Richard Hannon. The second was Ben Acre, 11-2, and third Arabian Storm at 4-1. A thrilling finish to the King Charles II Stakes this year, but the eye was always drawn to the grey horse on the far side, Should Have Been a Ring, who was cajoled and nursed into the race under a patient Sean Levy, and as soon as he was asked to spread his wings, has done so in fairly taking fashion, really quickening up nicely on that far side, as the favourite Majestic Pride on the near side in the Godolphin Blue had every chance, but was possibly perhaps unsuited by his position on the track. No doubt, though, that Should Have Been a Ring was perfectly suited by the way the race panned out, and stuck it out really well to win once again.
Yes, Should Have Been a Ring has won under this man. Many congratulations. Got absolutely rolling down the outside and job done.
Yeah, I think it worked out. We were kind of... Well, Richard was adamant he was going to stay to 7, and as per usual, he was right.
Were you?
I thought 6 was his optimum, to be honest. I think it's mostly because he always gets the right pace over the 6 furlong races, whereas in some 7 furlong races, you don't necessarily get that pace in there. And I think what's truly key is that there's just good pace to aim at.
Okay. So going forward, you wouldn't mind 6 or 7 as long as it's strongly run.
No, exactly. I think so. Look, the last furlong here is quite stiff, and there's no doubt he stays to 7. I think it's just on occasions where he's ran 7 before, I think he hasn't had pace to aim at, and as a result, he's normally ended up sitting in the wagon, so to speak, or nearly even making his own running, and you know that's probably not ideal for him.
What is the ground feeling like out there?
I felt good ground, to be honest. Rain hasn't really affected a whole pile, I don't think. I just thought it was beautiful ground.
Next couple of days, Heredia is an interesting one, back in distance. What do you make of it?
Yeah, back in distance. Look, she stayed 7 really well when she ran in Ascot, and she just didn't progress after that. Had a couple of... Well, I think her run in Sandown wasn't bad, but it was a bit disappointing. And then from there, she probably took a step backwards, a step in the wrong direction anyway. And look, she's had a good break. She's been working really well, and I think it's been at the back of Richard's mind whether or not she did stay.
Do you think that the way the Ascot race worked out, you know, it seemed like a strong pace and travelling oh so well just in behind, is that how she wants to be produced, do you think? Did the sort of big field nature of that suit her?
Listen, she's never lacked... You know, she's never lacked any speed, so I think on that occasion with so many runners, that was the way to get the best out of her. Like her sectionals, her finishing sectionals in New York were impressive. You know, over 7 furlongs dropped out. And obviously that's the way we rode her then in Ascot, so that come to the fore. But like going the mile, sometimes she was just that little bit keen. And like, you know, sometimes you get that. It's not necessarily that they don't stay, it's just they haven't got the right paces early doors, which in turn makes them travel that little bit keener, and then they can't finish out the race. But I think we were kind of 7 in her optimum, but if there's a chance to come back to 6, you know, that opens a lot of doors.
Do you think she'll be quick enough for 6?
I think so. I think, look, she's taken a step back and she's stepping down in class, really. You know, her last couple of runs were in higher class races. And I think in amongst that class of horse, I think she'll be okay.
You've caused a surprise in 1,000 guineas before. Might you again with Power Dress?
Look, she's underexposed, to be fair. She's only had 2 runs. Her last run was after a year off, and we were very happy with that. She's another one that we're probably still finding out a bit about. Martin Hughes and Michael obviously wanted to take a chance in the Guineas, and so be it. The handicapper has given her a mark of 88, which finds her, you know, it leaves her with a lot to find, you know. But at the same time, if you look at her on the bet and she's 33-1, I suppose 100-1. You know, there's a lot of horses rated a lot higher than her, below her in the market. So, like I said, she's not very exposed, and I suppose the thing to say is really we'll find out.
I suppose she ran an encouraging race last time, second career start, keeping on when the pace held up pretty well. So, you know, a big field over a mile.
No doubt. Look, anything can happen. We thought she was a classy filly as a 2-year-old. You know, she had a setback, no doubt about that, and she come back and took a step in the right direction, finishing really well in a conditions race amongst highly rated horses. And like we said, we always thought a lot of her. She's come on from the run, and why not take a chance?
All right, good stuff. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, thank you.
The winning horse is a Goff's horse.
The 3 o'clock is the NYE Timber handicap over 7 furlongs. The gatekeeper sent off 130 joint favourite with final watch.
They're off. The Nye Timber handicap over 7 furlongs, 1,400 metres. They didn't come away from the stalls in any great haste. The gatekeeper in the light blue, the first to ultimately break the line, to base player in a red and white jacket, the nose-banded grey Lord Rapscallion racing handily towards the far side. Persuasion down the near side in the pink cap, quite keen, a couple of lengths off the lead, racing upsides Accidental Agent, who's got the orange cap, Star of Orion in a green and yellow jacket settling midfield. Darkness in the shades of blue is last but one, and final watch, yellow jacket for Holly Doyle, just last of a fairly well-grouped field as they meander their way down towards halfway, taken there narrowly by the gatekeeper to the grey Lord Rapscallion base player in the red and white. Accidental Agent is only 2 lengths off the pace, then Persuasion to Star of Orion in the green and yellow. Working further back in the field then to Darkness, still final watch racing at the tail of the field as the gallop now just begins to unwind a little as they move past the bushes on towards the last quarter of a mile. Still the gatekeeper in the centre, light blue, base player on the right, Persuasion, pink cap trying to thread through, Star of Orion in the green and yellow on the far side, then Lord Rapscallion, inside the furlong they come, the gatekeeper trying to keep them all at bay, Persuasion and Star of Orion pressing on either side, the gatekeeper though fighting them all off, will fend them all off and make most. The gatekeeper from Star of Orion, Persuasion close up in third, chased home by Darkness and then Accidental Agent.
Really game effort there from the gatekeeper, wins 130 joint favourite Andrea Adzani and Charlie Johnston. Second was Star of Orion 4-1, and third Persuasion 15-2. A tenacious effort here from the gatekeeper, who wins very nicely in the end. Son of Acceleration, one of my favourite horses, I have to say, when I was growing up, and he's certainly got plenty of ability himself. Has the gatekeeper, keeping on very doggedly in the closing stages, just as every Charlie and Mark Johnston horse seems to do, keeps on finding more when those behind try and get to him. But he's shown plenty of pluck in the closing stages and wins, falling up for a fine fourth last time at Musselburgh. He goes 3 places better.
Charlie Johnson alongside, well done. What were you expecting that today, or hopeful of it?
I was, yeah. Obviously this horse was a good 2-year-old and then had 20 months off through injury. Fair play to the owners and to Midland Park for having the patience and retaining the faith at that point, and obviously ran very well on his comeback when he won at Newcastle. I thought he ran well in the spring mile. A mile in heavy ground probably stretched him a bit, and we maybe got a little bit greedy running him at Musselburgh again 7 days later. It was quite a busy return for a horse that had been off for 20 months, so a 4-week break and freshened up. And he had 3 options here this weekend. Well, the mile race, the last on the card today, he was also in the Thirst Cunt Cup, and we were confident we picked the right race, and that's how it's panned out.
Was that trip-wise, as opposed to trip and track, I guess, but is he a 7-furlong horse, do you think?
I think he could go a mile on certain tracks. Okay. I think on a turning, sharp track, a mile will be absolutely fine for him. On a straight track, I think 7 is probably better for him. And when this cut up to the smallest field and the biggest prize money, it was quite an easy decision at that point.
Would you be eyeing up some of the top-level 7-furlong handicaps ideally for him?
I think the main target now in the sort of short to medium term will be the Buckingham Palace at Ascot. I think a stiff 7 there is tailor-made for him. It'll take a bit of resisting not to go to the Victoria Cup next weekend. But no, I think we'll look at what mark you need to get into the Buckingham Palace. If we're confident that we can get in off where we are now, then we might just sit tight and wait for that.
And what you said about 7 or a mile, stiff 7 might just be right up his street.
I think the stiff 7 there will be perfect. You know, actually, since he came back at Newcastle, the races that have been at the forefront of our minds for the year ahead were probably the Buckingham Palace and then the Golden Mile at Goodwood, a turning mile around there. I could see him relishing that kind of test as well. So he's a great horse now that, you know, touch wood, we can keep him sound obviously after that length of time off, but he's taken his racing well so far this year, and all being well, he can take this group of owners to all the big meetings.
Need to touch on both guineas in about 60 seconds. So Dubai Mile, top level winner, big price?
At home, in that I think she will be comfortable over a mile for now, but
3 million.
He was doing more than we ever expected her to at every stage, and hopefully she'll be a better 3-year-old this year.
Cheers, Charlie, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The 3:35 Jockey Club Stakes Group 2 over a mile and a half features West Wind Blows as the even money favourite. Hurricane Lane next in at 2-1.
They're off. The 5 runners break from the stalls for the Group 2 Jockey Club Stakes. Winners between them of 28 of their 93 racecourse appearances and more than £3 million in win and place prize money. Global Storm with a white cap and outbox beige jacket push the pace along as they head into their only turn. They're tracked by Hurricane Lane in the raw blue, and then West Wind Blows, the blue and yellow last but one, and the grey mare Jewel in My Crown, last of the 5-strong field, as they take the turn with the Roly Mile stretching before them. Now at this stage, Outbox is running a little isolated, more towards the far rail. Now the other 4 heading down the centre, led by Global Storm, slipstream by Hurricane Lane, in turn tracked by West Wind Blows, and then the grey mare Jewel in My Crown. So Outbox running in isolation. They've gone through the first third or so of the contest. Right on terms down the middle, Global Storm, tracked in turn by Hurricane Lane, his stablemate, and the hounds of Will Buick. Jamie Spencer in the blue and yellow silks aboard West Wind Blows has just Jewel in My Crown and Callum Shepherd in behind, as up ahead Outbox and Holly Doyle and Global Storm and James Doyle, split by much of the width of the track, continue to dictate. They race 2 lengths ahead of Hurricane Lane, held together in 3rd place. West Wind Blows sitting right on his tail, and Jewel in My Crown continues to look on, and despite running in isolation against the far rail, Outbox still right on terms with Global Storm, and the pace beginning to lift just a fraction, you fancy. Hurricane Lane has yet to be asked any serious questions, leaving the half mile behind him. Spencer just crouching a little lower now on West Wind Blows, asking him to get competitive, and he begins to move up as fairly stylishly Hurricane Lane has come sweeping through to take over. Down to the bushes, 2.5 to go, and Hurricane Lane has gone breezing on by his rivals. Global Storm ridden along. West Wind Blows now asks for maximum effort effort on the right, then Jewel in My Crown. Outboxers weakened away, and it's Hurricane Lane, 4-5 lengths ahead, running downhill with a furlong and a half to go in the Jockey Club Stakes. Hurricane Lane and Will Buick 6 lengths clear. Global Storm fighting it out surely for a place only with West Wind Blows, and Hurricane Lane storming clear has simply blown his rivals away to win the Jockey Club Stakes emphatically. It's very close for second between Global Storm and West Wind Blows, then Outbox and Jewel in My Crown.
Hurricane Lane bounces back 2-1 for William Buick and Charlie Appleby. Second is Global Storm at 9-2. A stewards' inquiry here has seen Global Storm promoted to second and West Wind Blows demoted to third, but all eyes in the end were on Hurricane Lane, who, after a windy performance last time out, it has to be said, in the John Porter Stakes, when 7th of 7, has completely shown a different being here. An alter ego, if you like, and much more like his old self as well. Former Group 1 winner and St. Ledger winner, of course. It all looked a bit worrying after that reappearance, but not so today. He is coasted home in fine style. Great to see that classy horse back to somewhere near his best.
Well, a great performance from Hurricane Lane under this man, William Buick. Much different to last time. Did you feel early on it was going to be different?
I did, yeah. He was obviously, he had the cheek pieces added on today, and I'm not sure whether they made all the difference, but he was a much fitter horse, and you know, he'd had that run under his belt at Newbury. Obviously travelled down there, and yeah, today he was game on. You know, he felt like the real athlete that he is. You know, the race set up nicely for him, but he was convincing, and you know, I loved the way he went through the gears. He was, you know, it's lovely to see him back like that.
Must be a bit of a relief ultimately, because we know how talented he is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you were as good as he was last year, and then, you know, Newbury, the ground was incredibly bad, so I think that there was a bit of that as well. But look, you know, fair play to Charlie and all the team. You know, great to get him back, and you know, obviously this is on his doorstep. So no, it was perfect today.
Just touch on tomorrow and take me through the thought process behind Silver Knot and Noble Star. Was it a lot to do with their racecourse gallop?
Yeah, I suppose, you know, when they don't run in any trials and you do get them on the racecourse for a bit of work, I suppose you learn a little bit more. But you know, ultimately, Charlie thought I should ride Silver Knot, and James ride Noble Style, and you know, they're both high-class 2-year-olds. I'm not sure that necessarily means anything, who rides who. So they're both running. It's a good race, as it always should be.
And I know we know with Silver Knot, distance not a problem. What's your view, Noble Star-wise? He was so good last year, but do you think the mile could be a concern? Yeah,
you know, Silver Knot, you know, he will stay, and he's plenty of experience last year. You know, he ran in a lot of good races, and he was only narrowly beaten the Breeders' Cup. So he ticks a lot of boxes. Noble Style, obviously, he's up 2 furlongs from last year, and you know, when he won the Gym Crack, you know, if you win a Gym Crack, you're a fast horse. So, which is what he is. He's very talented. So I suppose his question mark is whether he'll stay the mile or not. And tomorrow will tell us.
Cheers, Will.
Thank you.
Thanks. Charlie Appleby has seen Hurricane Lane back to winning ways. How do you explain the two, such different performances?
Look, it was very testing ground, as we know, down at Newbury. And look, we've always stated the horse likes, you know, we like cutting the ground or soft ground, to be brutally honest with you. But for his first run back after such a layoff there, it was a big ask. And you know, Will just said that day, he said he just never felt comfortable on the horse throughout the race at any stage. Whereas today, he said he was a different horse. He said he was, you know, something much more athletic. He travelled, he's enjoying himself. He said, and when I picked him up, asked him to pick up, he said he picked up like he did as a 3-year-old there, you know. But I have to thank all the team. It's been a great team effort, and just delighted to get the horse back. You know, a lot of people have asked why we were doing it. You know, why are we coming back? But we believed in ourselves and believed in the horse that he still held that ability there.
So that must be really satisfying, given that I don't want to say today might have been Last Chance Saloon, but from what you're saying, like today was pretty important, right?
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. It was potentially Last Chance Saloon, because you know, you don't want to see these horses getting beat when they've had a career like he has had. You know, he's he's gone out there and basically, proved to us what he's been showing us, and I'm delighted for the horse as much as ourselves.
Okay, what might you look at as the season develops now?
Well, probably we'll see what happens weather-wise. Really, it doesn't want soft ground, to be honest with you, Tom. Just it's beautiful ground out there, Dave. It's just good ground, even though we've had a few light showers, that's not changed anything. But good ground there. Look towards a hard whip, possibly if the ground's right. But as we know, Ascot, that time of year, it could be proper summer racing, good to firm ground, or we could have the odd, year where it's been on the slow side. So we'll just keep it very fluid, should we say.
And would you ever come back to 10 with him, or stick at 1.5?
Stick at the 1.5. I think that's him, to be honest. I think he's a proper 1.5 horse.
I've just asked Will about the two runners in the Guineas tomorrow. He talked about the racecourse gallops, etc. You've always been, when you've had two in the Guineas, pretty forthright about your views, which is always welcome, and you were very forthright with Caribus last year. How do you weigh up these two then, Silver Knot and Noble Star?
Silver Knot's, guaranteed to see the mile out. He's proven on the course. He won the autumn stakes, and he's got that sort of what I like. He's got that sort of enough racing experience and battle hard, and in these Group 1s when it comes to fighting it out, you've got to have cut your teeth, and he's done that. Silver Knot, on the other hand, he's 3 from 3. That gimcrack form is outstanding form, but genuinely we'll be sat up in the stands not knowing whether, once they go into the dip there, will he see it out or not. If he sees it out, he's going to be a very dangerous horse. On pedigree, there's a big question mark, but with a horse like him, not saying what do you do, he deserves to be in the race, doesn't look out of place in the race, and we'll decipher afterwards whether we're a miler, Jersey horse, or a Commonwealth, really. So I don't, it's going into the race very open-minded.
If Noble Star was to see it out, is he the most talented potentially, or do they equally hold as much talent as each other?
I think he probably could be the most talented, because at the end of the day, he's won a gimcrack. He's going to have that turn of foot, and that's what we saw. That's what we saw when he won the gimcrack. So if he can apply that over the mile, he's a superior horse. It's just if you can see that mile out.
Cheers, Charlie.
Pleasure. Thanks. Cheers, Tom.
Cheers.
It's another group winner from Tattersalls.
The 410 is the British EBF Maiden Filly Stakes over 5 furlongs. Well-backed favourite Soprano looking to get the job done here on debut at 6-4.
They're off, breaking out over 5 furlongs. Grey Phoenix Duchess a little slow in getting away. Fly Pass in a white jacket began brightly towards the near side, tracked by Soprano in the light blue. Midnight Affair, Indispensable, the red, white and blue, and dropping in at the tail of the field after that sluggish start, Phoenix Duchess. Meanwhile, towards the far side, Saeed Kingman in the blue and white is right on terms with the leaders. Miss Woo Woo, white jacket with a purple cap, chases them, and so too second from the left, the star on the cap, that's Asheen Murphy aboard Miss Mac. Well, they've gone through halfway, passing the bushes. Soprano on the right, joining Fly Past. Miss Woo Woo running a big race down the centre. Far side, Saeed Kingman. In behind, Midnight Affair. Grey jacket travels, but has got absolutely nowhere to go. Had to be checked right back off heels as Soprano moved through inside the furlong, taking the advantage. Indispensable running on strongly. Midnight Affair on the far side finds daylight, but it's surely too late. Soprano in control and hits all the winning notes. Soprano makes a winning debut. Midnight Affair looked a little unlucky. Indispensable was close up in third.
George Bow with another smart prospect on his hands as Soprano wins under hands and heels. 6-4 favourite for William Buick. Second was Midnight Affair, 5-1. And third, Indispensable at 7-1. She was really well supported all throughout the afternoon, was Soprano, in this opening contest in her career, and despite showing a little bit of greenness in the early stages of the race and changing her legs when she got to the dip, she's done this really nicely, careering away in the closing stages to win on her first racecourse start. This daughter of Star Spangled Banner, whose dam, Layla's daughter, was related to some nice winners. Well, she's certainly got a pedigree that is matching her quite clearly latent ability, and she definitely looks one to keep on side going forward.
Soprano has won, trained by this man. What were your expectations today, George?
Her work had been good. She's been a filly who from the get-go knew her job pretty well. But yeah, look, I think it's always first day of school. I didn't think she'd step at a couple of She got a bit green at one point, but she's bred to get further, and I was always confident if she was able to be in the race sort of as they come into the dip, she'd always come out of it pretty well. So she's smart.
Royal Ascot?
I think so. I was pretty keen to get on the track earlier than we did with Cachet when she went to the Albany, because they need to learn. She was still green there, and look, she probably needs another run before then. I don't really know where at the moment, but yeah, the Albany's got to be the plan.
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question, 5 or 6. So there you go. Do you see her as a filly that wants it?
Yeah,
like as soon as possible.
Yeah, I nearly ran her here in a couple of weeks' time over 6, but as I said, I think to get that banker work in the Midlands, and as much black type as we can get. And look, Queen Ollie wears a tongue tie for the first time. I was a bit disappointed in the Nelgwyn. She didn't look to get home, I don't think. So back on a bit faster ground, I think should suit her well.
Okay. And have you got a filly in the Dahlia?
Yeah, Via Sistina. She's in great form. Again, she needs a bit of rain to run. She won't run unless it's slow side, probably. Good ground she could run on, but she's a filly she's probably the one that has really improved a significant amount from 4 to 5 this year, and her work's very good. I haven't really got anything to go with her, so...
well, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it is, and look, it's a starting point for her, but she's a nice filly.
Is there anything you'd like her to end up in as the season progresses?
Well, she's in the Pretty Polly at the Curragh, which I think would suit her very well. It can be slow ground at that time. I know it's July, but she's going to be in all the big fillies races and try and pick up as much black type as she can.
Cheers, George. Well done here.
Top man. Thanks, Tom.
4:45 is the NYE Timber Maiden Filly Stakes of Ramar and a quarter. Infinite Cosmos sent off 11 to 8 on to get the job done.
They're off, breaking out over 1.25 miles for the Night Timber Maiden Fillies Stakes. Godolphin filly Sahara Miss might just have dipped slightly on leaving the stalls, but she broke on level terms, and it's a bit of a jaunt through the first furlong. They come off at a fairly leisurely tempo. Nose-banded Therapist sets the early pace, tracked by Sahara Mist, and odds-on favourite Infinite Cosmos. Ryan Moore, the dark blue with a yellow cap, within a length and a half of the lead. Strong Impact in the maroon and white tracks the leading trio, and then Rouen towards the near side, the red and white with the white cap. Who Loves You Baby and the maroon and yellow is towards the back third of the field, racing company with Raina, the white sleeves, and 2 lengths away Nakano under jockey change James Doyle, the predominantly maroon silks. They race slightly far side of centre, heading towards the end of the first 3.5 furlongs or so. Still a fairly leisurely sort of gallop, going along at the mid-30s miles an hour. And Oisin Murphy has the nose-banded filly Therapist just ahead of Infinite Cosmos. Sahara Mist in the raw blue tracks them, and then Rouen towards the right, followed there by Raina, Nakano on the extreme right. Strong Impact towards the far side in the maroon and white, only a couple of lengths off the lead and racing just in advance of Who Loves You Baby. Fairly well grouped, and they drift closer now to the far rail, moving on down towards the last 3.5 furlongs, and the pace is beginning to lift. Therapist, Buick is having to work away on Sahara Mist on the extreme left, Moore just nudging Infinite Cosmos gently into the bridle as they pass the bushes and begin the downhill run. Strong Impact second from the left is picking up, and from the rear Nakano on the extreme right keeps on, but Infinite Cosmos has now struck the front as they race down into the dip. Therapist sticking to the task in second. Strong Impact is back in third, and then Nakano. Moore simply nudging away on Infinite Cosmos, has moved over 2 lengths clear from Therapist and Strong Impact. And this Oaks entry, Infinite Cosmos, drawing clear for a ready success, and she could be very useful. Close for second between Strong Impact and Therapist, and Nakano was in fourth.
Really impressive stuff from Infinite Cosmos. Wins 11 to 8 on favourite for Ryan Moore and Sir Michael Stout. Second was Strong Impact, 13 to 2, and third Therapist at 9 to 2. She has a beautiful pedigree, does Infinite Cosmos, daughter of See the Stars out of Whaler, who herself was a listed winner, bred in the purple and trained by Master, and she looks to be coming along at just the right time, doesn't she, for the Oaks, in which she holds an entry, because she's absolutely trounced them here in really fine fashion, travelled nicely up the straight, and as soon as she was asked to go about her business by Ryan Moore. Has done so. She still looks like she's learning on the job a touch, a little bit wayward, going left and right in the closing stages, but Sir Michael Stout is perfect to know what he's doing with these kind of fillies. He knows the family well, and she has done that very well.
Infinite Cosmos has won very nicely, trained by this man, Sir Michael Stout, and now gone to the head of the betting for the Betfred Oaks. Do you see her as an Oaks filly, Sir Michael?
Well, we've always thought it was a possibility. I didn't think she was particularly impressive there. It was workmanlike, but she is a work in motion. You know, she's still learning on the job. So we'll run her in a trial and make a decision after that.
What was Ryan's immediate response getting off?
That he earned his riding fee.
And pleased enough she won without her being sparkling.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to be sparkly at this stage of her career. But she needs to grow up. You know, she was just a little bit toey in the outside before she was saddled up. She's taking time to learn.
And that would have been slightly better ground than she had on her debut. Just sort of ground-wise, what do you see her as enjoying?
I think the ground was very soft at Doncaster, and she went through that. This is probably on the slow side of good, and she handles that. I think she may be impervious to ground.
Well done.
Thanks.
The 520 is the racehorse Lotto handicap over a mile. Outbreak and Arthur's Realm sent off the 9-2. Joint favourites.
Flags are raised and they're off. The starter gets them away first time for the racehorse Lotto handicap. Outbreak has jumped off in the trio over towards the left. He's in a raw blue jacket. He's tracking Azano in the green and red. The white-faced Hafid Orlan is also over there, followed through by the grey Cabinet of Clowns and Spin Around. You might just spot the pink cap over in that far side group as well. A little off the gallop at this stage is Long Line. It looks as though he's being eased and perhaps pulled up Long Line at the end of a couple of furlongs. And the others are now beginning to merge together with warning signs, second from the right in the raw blue handy. Extreme right then, Arthur's Realm in a green and yellow jacket is tracking the leaders, with Tahitian Prince in the yellow cap and Power of Darkness in the red and white. So little more than 3 or 4 lengths would cover the field as they head down towards the last 3.5 furlongs. Azano in the red and green. To the white-faced Hafid Orlan down the centre, Arthur's Realm on the right being ridden along, so too Warning Sign in the raw blue. Extreme right, Tahitian Prince, far side Outbreak in a raw blue and green jacket. He's getting there quite stylishly as well as they head down past the 2. Azano now being challenged by Outbreak. Then Hafid Orlan, Tahitian Prince, Arthur's Realm at the 1 pace. Outbreak has moved through as they race down out of the dip, drifting across to the far rail. Azano is sticking to the task, then Hafid Orlan, the grey Cabinet of Clowns, is plugging on. 100 yards to cover. Outbreak nudged out by Andrea Azzani to make sure. Firmly in command. Outbreak beats Azano. Cabinet of Clowns up for third. Hafid Orlan in fourth.
Outbreak wins nicely. 9-2 joint favourite goes in for Andrea Edzani and Charlie Johnston. Second was Azano, 14-1. And third, Cabinet of Clowns, 11-1. A double on the day here for Charlie Johnston. Your eye was always drawn, wasn't it, over the far side to Outbreak, who travelled 2 to everyone else's 1, really carting himself into the race and only had to be nudged out hands and heels into the lead. And as soon as Andrea Azzani asked him for a little bit more effort, it is very much there. Charlie Johnston enjoying himself very much at the moment and has Dubai Mile in the big race on Saturday. So a nice precursor to the Classic. A nice performance too from Outbreak.
Well done. Have you had a flag start before?
Yes, I have.
That was odd, wasn't it?
Well, it has happened before where, you know, it's similar sort of weather that you can't really risk to put horses in the stalls. And to be honest with you, I was talking to the owners in the paddock. I said to them, it has happened before that because of the weather, there's a good chance we won't use the stalls. And finding out, so as soon as we go down to the starter decided that it wasn't safe to use the stalls.
He travelled really nicely.
Yeah, he's got plenty of pace. He's a solid horse. Obviously, he was very lucky in the Lincoln trial at Wolverhampton when I got flattened coming out the stalls, and at Linkfield over a mile and a quarter, he looked the winner all the way. He just didn't quite get home. And the last day, maybe I sort of made the running with him, and it felt like I was doing a bit too much all the way. And maybe the ground didn't quite help either the last day. So slightly better ground today, and also we managed to get a lead into the race. He travelled beautifully into it, and when I let him down, he picked up quite nicely.
And thought the gatekeeper was impressive enough earlier on. He could have some exciting handicaps on his agenda this year.
Yeah, he's a solid horse. I liked him the first time I won him at Newcastle over 7, and then we stepped him up to a mile on very, very soft ground on the Lincoln Day, and he actually ran good. It's just the ground probably went against him, and coming back here with 7 furlongs with slightly better ground, he's the same. It's very simple jump to travel, and then when I let him down, he just kept fighting all the way to the line.
I think the trainer suggested a sort of stiff ask at 7 would suit really well, so there could be a handicap at the Royal Meeting there. But do you think a mile's fine for him?
Maybe an easy mile, but stiff 7 probably suits him better. Like I said, I think Ascot could be a good shout. Like the 2 solid horses, the 2 proper Saturday horses, for those big handicaps. So I think the owners would have a lot of fun with both of them.
I think it's going well for you. Would this be a first season freelancing for how many years?
9 years. I was a retained rider for 9 years. So it's a bit of a change, but it's good. It's like I said, it's something different. It's still a bit quiet at the moment. It doesn't really get going properly, hopefully, until just Guinness weekend after the Guinness. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try to keep as busy as I can. I don't have to be at the main meetings if I don't get a good ride. I'd rather go to the second meetings and pick up as many good rides as I can. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting here. It won't be easy to find the good ones, but we keep looking, and you never know.
And riding a good bit for Charlie.
Yeah, I've been riding for Charlie and obviously Mark as well for a long time, sort of on and off, and I've been very lucky for them, and good people to ride for, and I always pick up some nice rides for them.
Good man, well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Some lovely performances at Newmarket on the opening day of the Guineas meeting. The highlights going the way of Mutasabek, a fantastic performance in the 150. He could be a Group 1 contender going forward, couldn't he? Over the mile distance, good to see Hurricane Lane back in the 3:35, somewhere near his best as well. He won very nicely and wasn't too bad a time, but compared to the rest on the card, it was one of the slower ones. The fastest, though, came from Mutasabek in that headgear. He just kept on rolling, didn't he, in that 150.